We flick the switch? Flick the switch, please.
3, 2, 1.
Okay. Thank you for tuning into our live stream of the council meeting. The meeting will begin now. Sorry for the delay. We've had some technical glitches, but thank you. Now, pursuant to section 66 and 2B and C, this council meeting will not be open to the public. I can't read that. To attend in person. Instead, participation may occur via video link, which is what's happening now, and the meeting may be viewed live on the internet from Council's website on Facebook or Facebook page. Opinions expressed or statements made by participants are the opinions or statements of those individuals and do not imply any form of endorsement by Council. By attending a council meeting via audio-visual link, those present will be recorded or their image captured, as per Councillor Middlemiss will be. When participating in the meeting, consent is automatically given for those participating to be recorded and have images captured. Tonight we have in attendance Councillor Darren Howe, Councillor Brad Law, Councillor Kelly O'Callaghan, Councillor Dale Harriman, Councillor Tracy Lund, Councillor Melissa Ferguson, and we have on Zoom Councillor Graham Middlemiss and myself, Councillor Sharon Gibson. We do have an apology, which is Councillor Dan Clancy, and we send our sincere condolences to him and his family. A member's attendance can only be recorded as present, where the member can confirm that they meet all three of the following. They can hear proceedings, they can see other members in attendance, and can be seen by other members. Councillor Middlemiss, do you meet all those three?
Madam Mayor, you've confirmed that councillors can see me. I can see all councillors, and when they've been talking, I've heard all of them.
Thank you very much. Okay, would you all join me in the opening prayer, please? Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power and the glory forever and ever. Amen. And please be kept standing for recognition of the traditional landholders. I would like to acknowledge that we are meeting today on the traditional land of the Baraklong people of the Gunai-Kurnai Nation and pay our respects to their past, present and emerging elders. You may be seated. Right. Conditions of entry. All members of the community, and we don't have any in attendance, but all councillors too, are asked to behave in a courteous and respectful manner in accordance with governance rules. The Chair may order or cause the removal of any person, including a councillor, who disrupts any meeting or fails to comply with a direction. Okay, now we'll start getting into our meeting, and we have a large agenda, but hopefully we'll be through it as quick as possible. As I said before, we do have an apology, which is Councillor Dan Clancy. Do I have any declarations of interest, please? Councillor Harriman?
Yes, Madam Mayor, I have two declarations to make. The first is an indirect conflict on item 11.2,
Yep.
which relates to the community grants, a change of a grant from Traralgon Lions Club. I'm president of Traralgon Lions Club. And my second indirect conflict item is 14.5, which is the Australia Day Committee member nominations. It includes a member from Traralgon Lions Club again, and I am president of Traralgon Lions Club. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Harriman. Do I have Councillor O'Callaghan?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Declaring an interest no conflict in 15.1. The paperwork's already been provided to the governance team. So just advising my colleagues as a courtesy. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor O'Callaghan. Councillor Howe?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I have a conflict of interest, a general conflict of 19.3, the 2021 Australia Day Awards.
No worries. Thank you, Councillor Howe. Any others? Oh, Councillor Middlemiss, sorry. Yes, Councillor Middlemiss.
Thanks, Madam Mayor. I have the identical situation to Councillor Howe, 19.3.
No worries. Thank you. Okay. Anybody else? No. Okay. Looking for a mover for the adoption of minutes held on the 5th of
So moved,
October.
Madam Mayor.
Councillor Callaghan, do I have a seconder? Councillor
Second, Madam Mayor.
Councillor Howe, any opposition? Anybody wish to speak? No. I move that carried. Now, acknowledgements. Councillors, do we have anybody wish to make any acknowledgements? No? Okay. Thank you. I'm getting there. Okay, we have no questions?
No, Madam Mayor, no public questions on notice, nor public speakers at tonight's meeting.
No worries, you beauty. Thank you. All right, we'll get into our agenda. 9.1, notice of motion. Are you moving that?
I'd actually like to move an alternate motion, if that's okay.
Right,
Yep.
okay.
I would like to combine my first and second motion as an alternate
I
motion.
note you.
Yep.
An
We've got a
alt,
large agenda, and I think it'll help move things through quickly.
so alts combining two.
Mhm.
All right, thank you.
Yep, thank you.
I noted you, Councillor O'Callaghan.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The local law does not allow us to have an alt on a notice of motion, and there's been other motions put in order to the CEO. So the orders as they stand would require that 9.1, 9.2, 9.3 be heard in order as presented. An alt is not an option. Happy for the CEO to answer that question.
Yeah, thank you. We'll just ask question because any others are able to do, so we'll just find out. Thank you.
So no, in terms of the governance rules, does require the motions to be considered in the order they're presented in the agenda, and with notices of motion, the mover can't move an alternative in relation to it, so it's as presented in the agenda.
I don't think that's quite true, but if you can't, if it's notice of motion and you can't combine, that's one thing. Hannah? Sorry, thank you. That being the case, if you'd like to go back to the original, are you happy to do that?
Oh, if I can't combine the two into an alternate motion, then I guess it's the rulings.
No worries. So you're moving the original?
Yes, please. Yep.
I've got, oh, yep, sorry. Councillor O'Callaghan?
Seconding. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Seconding, do I have any opposition? Nope. Do I have any, would you like to speak to your motion?
Just that I'm happy to put that through, and it's a good cause, and I think we all just want to see the safety of children across Latrobe, so that's all I've got to say.
Thank you. Councillor O'Callaghan, do you wish to speak to the motion?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Happy to speak to Councillor Fergus's motion in relation to this, primarily because there were a range of meetings held at the request of the school community in relation to the currently presenting issues in Main Street, which became more of a concern during COVID because of an increase of participation in terms of families walking their children to school and the use of the proximate area in the broader sense. So the approach was made by the school in relation to our Walking to School program through Municipal Public Health and Wellbeing. We attended to meetings with the school representatives, with Victoria Police, and ably assisted by Liam and Andrew from our Community Resilience team, and Harry from our Traffic team also brought together some information in terms of design and opportunity and potential options for us in terms of Main Street Yanar. So that occurred initially with some correspondence from the school in July, followed through into August with some ongoing correspondence into September. So it was a body of work that was being undertaken, and I just wanted to pass on my thanks to the officers who did conduct a significant amount of work with the school, have been liaising with them on an ongoing basis, and it's also consistent with the broader body of work that they've been undertaking with other primary schools, including Grey Street Primary and a range of others in the municipality. And the broader issue of school crossings is one that I know Councillor Ferguson feels strongly about. There are some subsequent motions in relation to those also, and Madam Mayor will hear them accordingly. Thank you very much, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor O'Callaghan. Do I have a speaker for the motion? Against the motion? Anybody else wish to speak? No. Councillor Ferguson, do you wish to close?
Yep, that's fine. I'll close on that. I've had many negotiations with the Yanar community, and I've met with some of the officers now, and there's a clear path ahead now to contain this and to work on this issue. So, yeah, that's what I'd like to do. Thank you.
Thank you. Since we've had speakers and we're turning our phones off, I'll put the motion to the vote. All those in favour? Councillor Howe, Councillor Law, Councillor O'Callaghan, sorry, Councillor Middlemiss, Councillor Harriman, Councillor Land, Melissa.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry, Councillor Ferguson and myself, I declare the motion carried unanimously. Oh, yes, Councillor O'Callaghan, moving the...
Moving 9.2, thank you, Madam Mayor.
Right. Okay, do I have a seconder for that? Councillor Law. Do I have any opposition? Councillor O'Callaghan, do you wish to speak to the motion?
Thank you,
please?
Madam Mayor. I think it's fairly self-explanatory in terms of the request itself, but it's to follow through on a report that was received by the officers in March of this year, which highlighted for us a range of issues and concerns in relation to school crossings, more broadly across the municipality. I know that just about each and every councillor has a school community within their ward that has a level of concern regarding the current infrastructure or staffing availability to school crossings. What we're looking to achieve in relation to this is some further consideration of the current issues as they present for each of those primary schools. Some matters that have come to the fore during COVID, which has been more about the use of school premises, the changes in terms of drop-off and pick-up in relation to children, particularly small children, and the changes to the state government requirements in relation to that. And that in itself has had an impact. But furthermore, there are some significant issues in relation to cost and opportunity for infrastructure development across particularly some of our smaller towns, but also larger communities where there's been an ongoing issue, and Councillor Middlemiss may very well speak to one in Morwell that he's had a level of concern about for quite some time. So the matter that Councillor Ferguson has raised in relation to Yanar also is a highlighting factor in relation to these things, because it is another of those significant concerns because of the nature of the traffic on that road and it being the main road in the town. But what this will allow is officers to come back to us with some additional information pertaining to what we've got available in terms of concerns, issues and work that we've already done to date. There have been some warrant counts done. We know that some of the schools will now meet requirements in terms of the warrant, so they would be categorised as a crossing that would be eligible for staffing. What we need to do in relation to that is find a way through in terms of resourcing of that within budget, but also we need to be advocating very strongly for to the state government in particular to ensure that the warrant-rated program that is actually made available by the state is expanded so that we don't have to reach into the budget of the ratepayers of Latrobe City to supplement a program that is conditionally effectively paid for by the state, but not to a level that meets the resourcing expectations of the communities, the school or council itself. So this notice of motion basically requested officers report back so that our Brains Trust can provide us with all the information around the good work they have already done highlight the challenges we currently face, give us some rundown on what the stakeholders' concerns and considerations are in relation to this, but also gives us the opportunity, and through you, Madam Mayor, to engage with the state government around options to expand that funding for infrastructure and staffing support, not only through the warrant program, but across other state government infrastructure programs. Very happy to have my colleagues consider this matter. Thank you very much, Madam Mayor.
No worries. Thank you, Councillor O'Callaghan. Councillor Lord, do you wish to speak? No worries. Do I have a speaker for the motion? Against the motion? Oh, sorry. Oh, I see you now. Sorry. Councillor Middlemish, you're speaking for the motion.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just in Mall, the Central Ward, we have 2 schools that have been having problems with school crossings or lack of school crossings for many, many years. The newest school, the Central Primary School in Mall, are absolutely convinced that the children crossing Holmes Road, particularly after school, that the children are in danger and it warrants a crossing. Investigations by our officers find that it doesn't meet the funding cut-off. So we've got a situation where we're saying, look, the funding isn't available. The school is saying very, very strongly, we need it, it's not safe. And we've had one going on for, I think, about 15 years for the Kurnai College campus down on Bridle Road, where the school has been advocating every year, I think, since I've been on this council, for the need for a crossing supervisor. The teachers come out and do it when they're available, but it is a bit of a dog's breakfast down there, kids going in all directions, and the school is quite correct in saying it's unsafe. But again, because of the age of the children, the state government regulations don't allow a school crossing to be there. The kids are older, they're secondary school, junior secondary school students, and under the government's regulations, they're considered safe to cross on their own. Now, anybody who goes and looks at this crossing would see that that's perhaps not the case. So I fully support what Councillor O'Callaghan is seeking here, which is a review of all the problem crossings we have in the city and get an officer's view on those. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Middlemiss. Do I have a speaker against the motion, for the motion? And
Sorry, Madam Mayor, just briefly. Just want to support what Councillor O'Callaghan has said. We're currently paying around 65% of the cost for our school crossing program at the moment for something that is effectively a state government responsibility. When it started out in 1973, mid-70s, that was the case, and we've slowly crept up our cost over those years. So it's not, I don't think it's right that with everything else we need to fit into our budget. We have a budget rate cap put on us by the state government, and they're also pushing their costs down onto us. So I think a report like this is long overdue, and I commend Councillor O'Callaghan on bringing it forward.
thank you, Councillor Howe. Do I have a speaker against the motion, for the motion? Anybody else wish to speak? Councillor Ferguson?
Thanks, Madam Mayor. I just wanted to add that there has been activities in the past, but I really think that the review on the effectiveness is still worth noting, rather than just the standard reporting that's been passed through. So that's all I wanted to say.
Thank you. Okay, anybody else wish to speak? No. Councillor O'Callaghan, do you wish to close?
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor. I think, as my colleagues have indicated, there is a level of priority in relation to this. There's been a body of work being undertaken by the officers for a period of time, particularly since the initial report that came back to us in March. The work's been undertaken, particularly with the schools, from July through to September, October, and Councillor Howe has more than adequately highlighted the impact in terms of cost on council, and as demand across these areas do escalate, there is a significant risk that the burden will be borne by the ratepayer as opposed to the state, where the program effectively sits. I don't think any of the discussion tonight is anything other than a focus on the welfare, safety and concern for our local children. It's not about us trying to step away from any level of responsibility, but it's about making sure that there isn't a cost shift by the state to local government so that ratepayers don't have to supplement and provide funding to things that should be made available through development, consideration and also building. And I think Councillor Middlemiss has highlighted quite adequately the issue around Morwell Central Primary School, where there is a particular facility built in an area without concern at all for the impact of that school community to be able to make safe egress and access from that location. And the multiple access points across that facility mean that the burden of cost in relation to staffing or infrastructure would be significant, and one that the council would not be able to adequately meet or address in the short to medium term. I think the other thing that is of importance in relation to this is there are a number of schools. This is COSI, this is Morwell Central Primary, Kernai. I know there's Moe and Newborough schools, Madam Mayor, that if given the opportunity you would have spoken to. Our small towns also have a burden of risk in relation to traffic that they have, because many of them are on main access routes and thoroughfares within their town. The importance, though, I think that Councillor Ferguson has raised in relation to effectiveness, which I know she does raise in her next motion, will allow her to speak to that. But that's around not just the reporting back around the challenges, but allow her to speak in more detail around those that are working and those that need more consideration. So I welcome Councillor Ferguson's contribution to that conversation, because what it might do is change some of that thinking in relation to the ways currently operating in terms of the reporting, the work and the expectations of school communities. So I don't think in any way that it is anything other than complementary to the motions already put, and it will allow a bigger body of work. I wouldn't be surprised at all if the officers bundle back a report that brings all of those matters to us and allows us to consider those in the fullness of time in the new year. Thank you very much, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor O'Callaghan. We've had speakers, so I'll put the motion to the vote. All those in favour? Councillor Howe, Councillor Law, Councillor Middlemiss, Councillor O'Callaghan, Councillor Harriman, Councillor Lunn, Councillor Ferguson and myself. I declare the motion carried unanimously. Okay. Oh, they've done it twice. Oh, sorry. Sorry, I'm just learning. There you go. Sorry. Bit of a, oops. Okay, item 9.3, notice of motion, effectiveness of school crossings in Latrobe City. Councillor Ferguson, are you moving? Please. Right, moving. Seconding, Councillor O'Callaghan.
Ferguson, a seconder on that one, Madam Mayor.
No worries. Do I have any opposition? Nope. Councillor Ferguson, do you wish to speak to your motion? And if you want to move your... Oh, thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor. So I agree there has been processes in the past, and I think that this is complementary, all three of these together. And obviously, when you look over the things, the effectiveness of the crossings can be interpreted differently between council, between the school and between Vic roads. And I think that's where the issue is, when it bounces around and the children are ignored of Latrobe City. So I think if we can look at the effectiveness on each basis of each crossing and assess it from there, not just the count, but the feedback we take into consideration a lot deeper on these issues. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Councillor Ferguson. Councillor O'Callaghan, do you wish to speak?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I think, yes, the effectiveness of these crossings is important, and as we know, there's been a change of usage patterns, particularly over the last 9 months. Certainly not something we could have anticipated, but in terms of the usage of the school and the way they're currently accessing their school facilities, the way they're ensuring that they meet their requirements in terms of safety in relation to COVID has changed the way they've been using some of those facilities as well. So there has been some change. Very pleased that our officers have been proactively engaging with the school communities to understand from them not only what their current concerns are in relation to crossing supervision, staff opportunities, but also the infrastructure, but more so that they have also engaged with the school communities around our Walk to School program, and they've been assisting the schools, particularly those where infrastructure may be delayed, to find ways to safely and proactively engage with their school communities around how they access those schools and what that means for not only the parent group but also for the kids. And they've been engaging quite proactively with that, engaging with not only the parents but the kids, and seeking from them an understanding of how they use access routes to school. Some of them are a little less traditional than we may expect, and just finding out what some of those natural pathways are to the schools themselves. So I think this will allow us to further understand that, and once we get this report back, we'll be able to look at what the other implications, opportunities, and through your advocacy, Madam Mayor, potentially some pathways to some additional resourcing and funding through the state, if possible. Thank you very much.
Yes, that would be very nice. Do I have a speaker for the motion? Against the motion? Do I have any other speakers? I will just say that Councillor O'Callaghan said about Moe and Newborough, and I agree wholeheartedly. I think what you were saying and what's in here is truly needed across the board. Now, we've had... Do you wish to close?
No, I just wanted to have another turn.
Yeah, you close.
Yeah. Okay, thank you, Madam Mayor. In conclusion from that, I think there's a lot of talk about not having reported near misses on these crossings. I think there has to be more communication to the schools about needing to report those then, because then it gives more indication something needs to be done. And unless that's being recorded, then you can't possibly know. It's all hearsay. So that's something I'd like to bring forward that I've noticed in my investigations in a local community with this, was their frustration around near misses and that being seen as the relevant point on that. And if it's not reported to council, they don't actually know they should be reporting that to council. And then perhaps they would have been able to recognise these particular crossings earlier. Okay, thank you.
Whereas, thank you, Councillor Ferguson. We've had speakers, so I'll put the motion to the vote. All those in favour? Councillor Howe, Councillor Law, Councillor Middlemiss, Councillor O'Callaghan, Councillor Harriman, Councillor Lunn, Councillor Ferguson and myself. I declare the motion carried unanimously. Okay. 9.4, notice of motion, social and affordable housing. Councillor Howe, you're moving.
Yes, please, Madam Mayor.
Do I have a seconder, Councillor Harriman?
Happy to second, Madam Mayor.
Right. Do I have any opposition? Nope. Okay. Councillor Howe.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I think it is timely that a report such as this is provided to Council that outlines options available to develop a social and affordable housing strategy. Ultimately, this will provide for increased direction on this subject in the Latrobe Planning Scheme, and that is the reason I'm putting this notice of motion forward for your consideration. As it stands currently, the Latrobe Planning Scheme does not provide specific direction when it comes to identifying appropriate locations for social and affordable housing in Latrobe City. Provisions of housing and shelter is a basic human right, but we also need to ensure that these facilities, such as rooming houses, are appropriately managed and that the occupants have easy and appropriate access to necessary services. More recently, the state government has announced further changes to the the planning scheme across Victoria to facilitate Victoria's big housing build. The big housing build sees the state government investing $5.3 billion in social and affordable housing over a 4-year period, with over 12,000 new dwellings to be provided. Of this investment, a commitment has been made to spend 25% in regional Victoria, and as it stands, an investment of $60 million has been guaranteed for Latrobe City. We need to ensure that such an investment, while well-intentioned, is directed to appropriate and well-serviced locations. I'm hoping this notice of motion is the first step in outlining our strategic position to the newly formed state government agency, Homes for Victoria, given that at a local level, we are the most aware of the key issues and challenges facing our communities on the ground.
Thank you, Councillor Howe. Councillor Harriman?
Reserve, thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Do I have a speaker for the motion? Councillor O'Callaghan?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. To thank Councillor Howe for bringing this matter to the chamber for a number of reasons, and I think he has highlighted rooming houses as an area of concern. We know as a council that this has been a challenge for us for some time. The planning requirements somewhat outstrip the capacity for the social engagement, health and wellbeing matters of the council to be able to engage with. And I know, Madam Mayor, that's no secret to you, because there's a number of things where health and wellbeing is not necessarily a planning consideration, and we need to look at that in a little bit more detail, but that's for another day. The nature of this in terms of social and affordable housing also gives rise to the concern around the capacity of a community to be able to actively support individuals who are experiencing a level of vulnerability within community as well, and not just around shared housing of a significant size, but also around homelessness, and I know that that is a concern for our local community. If you look at just the HQ precinct alone, this would be an ideal space to create a safe camp after hours in terms of people experiencing a level of homelessness, but also allow them a level of passive surveillance, safety and support by a range of organisations who would be happy to avail themselves of such an opportunity, including Victoria Police and Ambulance Victoria, who've also offered opportunities to be able to support individuals if they are provided with a safe camp space outside of public precincts where it can cause some level of concern and distress, but also ensure a level of safety proximate to a level of assistance, and also some access to facility that may be appropriate. While we would like to see all level of issues relating to homelessness be overcome, and that would be our broader goal, there will still be circumstances where individuals may choose to not live within traditional style housing that we may be accustomed to, and do have their opportunity available to them to be living within our communities, but unfortunately in a state of homelessness that can sometimes leave them extremely vulnerable to risk. So what we would like to do also is consider the options, not only around social housing and those opportunities, but what it means in terms of secure housing, safe housing, and also those implications of the state government directives around new opportunities for development of further social housing and what that will mean for Latrobe, where they will be, how that will impact in terms of our planning and amenity. But there are also some smaller dwelling opportunities that have been brought to bear by the state, whereby subdivision of pre-existing blocks of land within already existing estates within Latrobe could potentially allow for further secure housing options in areas where it may not have been considered before. So we do need to understand what the implications of that may be. So I welcome Councillor Howe's motion, thank him for the opportunity for us to be able to see a report and get into more of that detail, not only around the implications for us around planning, but also health and wellbeing opportunities here in Latrobe. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor O'Callaghan. Do I have a speaker against the motion? For the motion? Councillor Law.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just to follow on from Kelly, I think it's very important that hopefully that this report can bring back some type of dialogue on how council can best integrate with the Department of Union Services to provide the best outcomes for our community. Because at the end of the day, if this is just dictated from DHS, we don't get a lot of say, and as Kelly said, we have to pick up the pieces for our community. And I feel that we need to be able to form a partnership where we know the areas that need the best outcomes, and I think we should be able to do that in a more meaningful manner if we form a partnership with DHS. So I'm hopeful that this report can also bring back to the table some type of area where we can get into that type of area. So hopefully officers can help prepare that type of report. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Law. Against the motion? For the motion? Councillor Middlemiss. I got it.
Thanks, Madam Mayor. Councillor O'Callaghan has concentrated on the, shall I say, the extreme area of the social housing problem. I think it'll be echoing, but never mind. If we go one step above the level that Councillor O'Callaghan was talking about, we have, over the last 50 to 60 years, had quite a number of social housing schemes in our community, none of which have been done well. So I completely support what Councillor Howe is saying here. We need to be at the forefront of discussion about the type and where housing will be located. Obviously, this echo is not going to help much, so I'll cut it off there. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Middlemiss. Do I have a speaker against the motion? For the motion? Anybody else wish to speak? No. Councillor Harriman, you reserved.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'd like to commend Councillor Howe for bringing this forward. It has caused Latrobe City no end of dramas in the past, and residents and ratepayers of Latrobe City no end of drama in the past. I think the best part about this is the providing increased direction to the Latrobe planning scheme to guide interested parties. In the past, we've had a number of developers that have come in, have not known our towns or cities, have not known our local needs, and have put inappropriate or unneeded services in the wrong place. And I think by having this report come back and it directing to the planning scheme, that we're going to have a direction given to those parties of where they can build appropriately, where the services are needed, and where the appropriate housing can be placed, and have residents also know what's going to be happening in their neighbourhoods. So I commend Councillor Howe for this. I think it's well past due, and I recommend it to my fellow councillors.
Thank you, Councillor Harriman. Councillor Howe, do you wish to close?
I was going to, but I don't think I need to now. Thank you.
Okay, since we've had speakers, I'll put the motion to the vote. Councillor Howe, Councillor Law, Councillor Middlemiss, Councillor O'Callaghan, Councillor Harriman, Councillor Lunn, Councillor Ferguson and myself, I declare the motion carried unanimously. Oh, on. 9.5 in
Moving.
Globo Land. I note that you're moving. Councillor Harriman, seconding.
Second, Madam Mayor, thank you.
Councillor Howe. Do I have any opposition? Councillor Harriman, do you wish to speak to your motion?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm basically calling on a report about waiving interest on overdue rates on Englobo land that is used as farmland. The reason behind this is fairly simple. We have been waiting on a report from the Valuer General, and we're not getting much response from the Valuer General about looking at the rating level on farmland that has been made in Globo land, which is basically farmland that has a planning overlay put on it that says it can be used as residential. We have some land in Latrobe City that 11 years ago had Englobo status put on it and hasn't been able to be subdivided since, with the ratepayer paying rates on that land well in excess of what it would be if it was just considered farmland, not with the potential to subdivide. This is just looking at holding the interest rates, which in the past have been at 10% on money owing and on rates outstanding. This is to put it to 0% so that we can get a report back from the Valuer General, or that we can get a report back from our officers to determine what is fair and reasonable. And I just think putting it to 0 until such time as we get a report back in February is fair and reasonable, Madam Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Harriman. Councillor Howe, do you wish to speak?
Just briefly, Madam Mayor, this is a problem that we've had in Latrobe City for quite a while. We have brought it up with the local government minister on 2 or 3 occasions. We also included in a submission for the rating review last year. We still haven't heard anything back. Latrobe City, as a local government, it is our responsibility to ensure that we have enough land to meet future uses. But if something goes wrong and it is changed prematurely and they can't develop it, or no one wants to develop it, it does put an unfair burden on the owner of the property and obviously puts financial pressure, which then does affect their mental health, and the story goes. So 100% behind Councillor Harriman on this one. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Howe. Do I have a speaker for the motion? Against the motion? Anybody else wish to speak? Councillor Harriman, do you wish to close?
No, thank you, Madam Mayor.
Okay, we've had speakers. I'll put the motion to the vote. All those in favour? Councillor Howe, Councillor Law, Councillor Middlemiss, Councillor O'Callaghan, Councillor Harriman, Councillor Lunn, Councillor Ferguson and myself. I declare the motion carried unanimously. Now we're into item 11.1. Community grant request. Yeah, yeah.
Happy to move this one, Madam Mayor.
Well, I'm up, no worries. Councillor Harriman's moving. Do I have a seconder for the motion? No, he didn't. Councillor Middlemiss, were you moving, seconding? No.
Sorry, Madam Mayor, bit of a delay there. If we haven't got a seconder, I'm more than happy to second it.
Someone thought you were seconding, so if you're happy to second, that's fine.
Yes.
No worries. Any opposition? No. Councillor Harriman, do you wish to speak to this?
No, thank you, Madam Mayor. I think it's all explained there.
Councillor Middlemiss, do you wish to speak?
I agree with Councillor Harriman, very straightforward.
No. Okay. Since we've had no speakers, no opposition, I'll declare it carried unanimously. Oh, I like those.
Madam Mayor, I've declared a conflict of interest at 11.2, so I shall leave the chamber.
Thank you, Councillor Harriman. Councillor Harriman's just left the chamber. Oh, it's like Elvis. Sorry. Do I have a mover for the motion? Councillor Law? Councillor Howe, you're seconding. Do I have any opposition? Nope. Do you wish to speak to the motion, Councillor Law?
Yeah, I better speak to this one, thank you, Madam Mayor. I think this is just because of the situation that some of our community groups find themselves in, that they've got to reevaluate how they can best run these functions for the best outcome for their community. So all it is just they're providing resources just in different areas to get the same outcome for our community. And we commend them for undertaking such outcomes to actually benefit our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Law. Councillor Howe, do you wish to speak?
Just briefly, Madam Mayor, this is a yearly event, extremely popular community event that's been running for many years, regularly attracts over 5,000 people and has been successfully run by the Lions Club of Traralgon. The community does look forward to this event every year, so even though they can't have a carols by candlelight in a physical sense, they can provide one online, and what we're doing is redirecting the funds into that into that event. Thank you.
Thank you. Do I have a speaker for the motion? Against the motion? Anybody else wish to speak? No, but since we've had speakers, I'll put the motion to the vote. All those in favour, Councillor Howe, Councillor Law, Councillor Middlemiss, Councillor O'Callaghan, Councillor Lund, Councillor Ferguson and myself, I declare the motion carried unanimously. Can somebody go and get Councillor Harriman, please? Oh, sorry. Okay. Okay. Oh, sorry, yes, okay.
So moved,
11.2.
Madam Mayor.
All right. Part 2. Ah, yeah, right, okay, sorry. They were, yeah, you could have.
Happy to second it, Madam Mayor.
All right. Councillor O'Callaghan, Councillor Howe. Do I have any opposition? No. Anybody wish to speak to the motion?
Happy to be put as procedural. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
No worries. Since procedural, I'll put the motion to the... Oh. No speakers, don't have to. It's carried unanimously. Thank you. Now, can we get Councillor Harriman back in the room, please? Okay, since we're all back in the room, item 13.1, which is presentation of the annual report. Do I have a mover for the motion? Anybody?
Okay, I guess I'll move that motion. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Yes, you get that. Councillor O'Callaghan, do I have a seconder for the motion? Councillor Lund. Do I have any opposition? Nope. Councillor O'Callaghan, do you wish to speak to the motion?
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor. Our annual report is a requirement of the Local Government Act. It is where we highlight not only our audited financial statements, our standard of performance, compliance requirements, but it also gives us the opportunity to showcase those things that have been of particular importance to the council in the previous year. It also allows us the opportunity to report back on those things that are of particular significance to the local community, where there's an expectation that we have achieved a level of work and engagement with the community that needs to be reflected in a way that can be presented to the state government as well, because this is something that floats towards the minister's desk, so they'll be able to have the opportunity to look through that as well. It is, however, a significant body of work, and I did want to offer my thanks to Mr Piasanti and his team through Greg Drum for bringing together this work. It isn't easy to make an annual report interesting. There are many of them, and a lot of the information in there is data and numbers. So this is a good report. It does have a significant indication of the community's hand within it, and I think that given the year that it covers and the burden that has been placed on a range of communities, but particularly ours, it is an appropriate, well-considered and well-put-together document. So I thank the CEO and his team for bringing this together for our consideration. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor O'Callaghan. Councillor Lund, would you like to speak to the motion? No worries. Sorry. Do I have a speaker for the motion? Against the motion? Anybody else wish to speak? Councillor O'Callaghan, do you wish to close?
All good, thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, but since we've had speakers, I'll put the motion to the vote. All those in favour? Councillor Howe, Councillor Law, Councillor Middlemiss, Councillor O'Callaghan, Councillor Harriman, Councillor Lund, Councillor Ferguson and myself. I declare the motion carried unanimously. Okay, item 13.2. Oh, procedural, yeah. Pardon? Oh. Would... Do I have a mover for item 13.2? Councillor...
Move that.
Councillor Ferguson. Sorry for all those out there who aren't in this room. I gave our two newies, which is Councillor Tracy Lund and Councillor Melissa Ferguson, the choice, because this is their first council meeting. I gave them the choice if they'd like to move the motion, and if you had have seen Councillor Lund's face, yes, sorry, we digress. Councillor Ferguson, you're moving. Do I have a seconder for the motion? Councillor Lund, thank you. All right, Councillor Ferguson, do you wish to speak to the motion? No. Councillor Lund, do you wish to? No. Oh, sorry, I should have said any opposition. No. Anybody wish to speak for the motion? Against the motion? Anybody wish to speak? No. I declare the motion carried unanimously. Item 13.3, I note you, are you moving this, Councillor O'Callaghan?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor.
Right. Appointment of councillors council committees. Are you seconding the motion, councillor Hare? Right. Any opposition? No. Councillor O'Callaghan, do you wish to speak to the motion?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This is our substantive list of councillor committees for consideration by council. It allows us to do the work that we need to attend to that we can't do within the council chamber. So it's the workspace for us as councillors. Some of these are organisational committees, others have an external element to them as well in terms of partner and stakeholder agencies. With the change of council, there is also a level of consideration around the appropriateness of current committees, the current makeup of those committees, and whether or not the current requirements in terms of council participation is substantial enough to cover off on the work that is within them, but also allows for cover off on those committees which would now be absent of councillors due to the change since the council elections. We do review these annually anyway, so there is always a future opportunity to reflect on what is working, what needs to change and what can be adapted in relation to our committee list. But this is the first iteration for this council and there are significant elements of work that we will continue to do through our committees. They will then report back to the council and you will see that work effectively see itself land within reports and considerations with the council now and into the future. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor O'Callaghan. Councillor Howe, do you wish to speak?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Very briefly, if any of the community out there do wonder what councillors get up to at night, have a look at that list. There's a 60 or 70 committees that we do serve on. They meet they can meet monthly, bi-monthly or 3 or 4 times a year, whatever the requirement is. It also shows what interest and passion we do have for our local community. Thank you.
Nicely said. Do I have a speaker for the motion? Against the motion? Anybody else wish to speak? Councillor O'Callaghan, do you wish to close?
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
All right, we've had speakers, so I'll put the motion to the vote. All those in favour, Councillor Howe, Councillor Law, Councillor Middlemiss, Councillor O'Callaghan, Councillor Harriman, Councillor Lunn, Councillor Ferguson and myself. I declare the motion carried unanimously. I don't know if anyone out there could hear that crash. Okay, item 13.4, Councillor O'Callaghan moving.
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor.
Do I have a seconder? Councillor Law. Do I have any opposition? No. Councillor O'Callaghan, do you wish to speak to the motion?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And I do know that Councillor Clancy had intended to speak to this one, so I'm sort of sparing. In relation to the community engagement work that is an obligation of this council, there was a change in relation to the Local Government Act from March of this year. It does require us to address and then maintain a community engagement policy. Whilst we have had a level of policy and process in the past, it would be fair to say there is an escalation of expectation in relation to how that now occurs. We are required by the 1st of March 2021 to present this to the state for their consideration, or to have it considered. I apologise, Madam Mayor, because the state does want to know that this is the work that we are doing. What you will see within the body of your agenda, though, councillors, is effectively a holding policy position, given that we do have an expectation as a group of councillors that there be a little more robust consideration of the way we do directly engage. So I thank the CEO for bringing together something timely enough to be able to get to this meeting, but to allow us to flow a level of work that will need to take place, unfortunately for some of us, through December and January, and bring together a body of work around community co-design, collaboration, and consideration of what our community engagement strategy will look like more fully in response to the requirement of a new community engagement policy. We are not allowed to amend the one we already have, so it isn't a matter of just bolting on new approaches in relation to that work. It does require a new policy model, and that is something that we will be able to attend to more fully. We will also look at a principal document around core values and public participation. For many of my colleagues, they'll be familiar with the IAP2 approach to that, which will be part of that work. But we will also be looking more broadly at what the consideration is of equity and fairness around community engagement, where there may be a level of advocacy or lobbying on the part of groups, as opposed to the broader community consideration of a matter that is brought. So we do need to get into the detail of that. That's going to take us a bit of work, so that in the chamber, in a really practical way, the numbers of advocacy, sometimes from external to the municipality itself, don't outweigh the voice of the community that needs to be heard in relation to matters of significance that come toward this chamber. It is a significant body of work. It is important. The policy draft that is presented within this agenda is not the completeness of our work. We have more to do and we are acutely aware of that, but that's to hold us over so that we can present a plan that will outline what it is we're looking to achieve now and into consideration of this matter on the 1st of March 2021. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Callaghan. Councillor Lord, do you wish to speak to the motion?
Just quickly, the fact is that the government has set in place via its new Local Government Act 2020 that we must abide by those rules, and it's clear that we have to provide this policy by the 1st of March. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Law. Do I have a speaker for the motion? Against the motion? Anybody else wish to speak? No. Councillor Callaghan, do you wish to close?
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Since we've had speakers, I'll put the motion to the vote. All those in favour? Councillor Howe, Councillor Law, Councillor Middlemiss, Councillor Callaghan, Councillor Harriman, Councillor Lunn, Councillor Ferguson and myself. I declare the motion carried unanimously. Item 13.5, authorisation of council officers under the Planning and Environment Act. Do I have a mover for the motion, please? Councillor Harriman. Do I have a seconder for the motion, please? Councillor Howe. Do I have any opposition? Councillor Harriman, do you wish to speak to the motion?
Just wish to welcome the 4 new planners onto the team, and great to see our planning team getting expanded. We're getting busy and we need them on board, and this just gives them the authority to act legally. So very good to have them on board, and welcome on board.
Thank you, Councillor Harriman. Councillor Howe? No. Do I have a speaker for the motion? Against the motion? Anybody else wish to speak? Councillor Harriman, do you wish to close?
No, thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Since we've had speakers, I'll put the motion to the vote. Councillor Howe, Councillor Law, Councillor Middlemiss, Councillor Callaghan, Councillor Harriman, Councillor Lunn, Councillor Ferguson and myself. I declare the motion carried unanimously. Okay. I note you, Councillor O'Callaghan, are you moving? Hang on. 14.1. It's all right, it was a bit slow. Okay, you're moving that, Councillor O'Callaghan.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Do I have a seconder for the motion? Councillor Law. Do I have any opposition? Councillor Harriman. Councillor O'Callaghan, do you wish to speak to the motion?
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor. This amendment introduces a planning policy framework into our planning scheme. Basically, is an amendment that translates the existing Latrobe planning scheme into its new format. We've done a significant amount of work and community consultation in relation to this, and whilst there are 10 formal submissions received at a prior council meeting, we had considered those, sought to have a panel appointed to consider this, and this is effectively the outcome of the work of their hearings. In the work that we undertook with the community, we were able to hear and understand in a little more detail, particularly in some of our smaller towns, and Toongabbie was one of those, and I know my colleagues were engaged in some of those conversations as well, the expectations of our community members around what the amenity and planning structure will look like in their towns, so that there is a level of consistency around the way townships are currently built, designed and operated, I guess, but also what that will look like for the future, so that we don't have inconsistency across the municipality around the application of the principles of these amendments and how they affect our planning scheme. The detail of the report is fairly significant. I am aware that a submitter to the planning report to the panel is concerned about not having sufficient time to actually speak to this matter. They could have presented to council tonight. There was an opportunity for them to speak for their 3 minutes tonight if they so wished. And the matters that they've raised in relation to their submission were not in any way affected to the amendment, but to the policies of council, which were not considered by the panel, and the panel themselves considered them not to be a level worthy of further report within what they present back to us. So I think in the fullness of consideration, the recommendation by the officers stands on its own. I think it is consistent. I think the submissions made were all considered by the panel as per the process that we had requested be put in place. And given that level of consideration and the recommendations that are coming back to it, I think it is appropriate for us to adopt this tonight. I don't think any further consideration of this matter by council now or into the short term will do anything to change that outcome. And whilst I acknowledge there are some level of concern, there are appropriate ways for that to be considered within council itself that operate outside of this matter being adopted. My concern of it not being considered tonight and adopted in this way is that there are significant bodies of work, particularly in some of our small towns, that will be delayed if we don't consider this and bring it through. And with Christmas upon us, that will be further delayed through the state structures. So we will hit a wall in terms of hold up if we don't bring this matter through. And it's been well and thoroughly considered. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor O'Callaghan. Councillor Lord, do you wish to speak to the motion?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just to fully endorse what Councillor O'Callaghan has just said, I also believe that the panel has made their decision and our officers have, an independent panel has made their decision and our officers have duly considered all aspects of this planning report amendment, and I'm happy to support the motion.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Harriman.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. At this point, I'd like to foreshadow that if this motion is unsuccessful, I will foreshadow a motion. Just to bear in mind, there has been a request from a submitter to delay it. They had access to an 18-page report on Thursday afternoon. They've just asked for an extra bit of time. I don't think holding up 1 week will hit us into a brick wall. I think it'd give time for the submitter to be heard, to be able to read through the 18 pages and digest it, to come up with their arguments, whether it affected them or not. It is a ratepayer, and they've asked council to actually just give them some time to digest what is in an 18-page report, to look at it in the context of the planning scheme, and to come back and make some options available to council or to have their voice heard to council. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Harriman. Do I have a speaker for the motion? Against the motion? Anybody else wish to speak? Councillor Howe?
Madam Mayor, I agree with both people, both councillors, so I'm speaking for or against. 100% behind what Councillor Callaghan said, but we do have a concern that one of the people that did put an initial report into the amendment, he's requested for a further 7 days to absorb the panel report. It is only 18 pages, so to err on the side of caution, I think we should follow Councillor Harriman's foreshadowed motion. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Howe. Do I have a speaker for the motion? Against the motion? Anybody else wish to speak? No. Councillor O'Callaghan, do you wish to close?
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor. My colleagues have raised the issue in relation to a submitter wanting to present. Our officers have provided a response to that. They don't believe the delay in relation to further consideration would add any further benefit to council in relation to considering this matter. The independent panel report's recommendation had verified the decision of council that we took in September of 2020. We had at that point considered all of those submissions, including that by the submitter, who is raising question in relation to that. It is not that the matter has not been heard, it is not that the submission has not been considered, it was in its fullness and it was referred to panel. So that is the process and that is what has been considered. The panel found that there was no need to consider that in relation to that fullness of that amendment, and the council officers did feel that the matter being considered tonight would allow that submitter, given that they are very familiar with their own submission, could have attended tonight to speak to it, but also their level of capacity to engage with us on planning related matters. I believe that they would be able to present to us a level of information and argument should they want to present tonight and they choose not to. The other thing in terms of precedent, the ULAB consideration in September of this year, there was also an environmental report that was brought to council and consideration of the community. It was a 20-page report. We gave people 6 days. These were not members of the community that had a significant level of expertise or familiarisation with planning, and they were more than able to consider that within a short time frame and participate proactively in that special council meeting. So I think it's erroneous to consider that the 5 days for an 18-page report for someone who is very much attuned to and aware of planning requirements would require this council to return in a week and bring all of those resources with it, purely to hear for 3 minutes that could have been heard tonight and have this matter considered. It's not a reasonable consideration of resources. It won't result in a change. It'll just provide another level of hearing and we'll basically be considering the same matter again in a week. The matter was considered. The submission has been brought to this council, but ultimately this panel determined that the matters raised were outside of the scope of the amendment. This isn't just a matter of they didn't think it was worthy of some level of consideration, it was out of scope. So to call a special council meeting to bring something back that is out of scope to allow someone to be heard in a circumstance where it won't make any change because there isn't an opportunity to do so isn't really fair and reasonable, not only on the officers in terms of their consideration, but in terms of councillors to bring them back just to hear someone who could have presented tonight. So I do understand that councillors want to hear from everyone. There's been more than adequate opportunity for that to occur in this case, and it won't result in any change because it is indeed out of scope. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor O'Callaghan. We'll have speakers, so I'll put the motion to the vote. Those in favour. Councillor Law, Councillor Minimis, Councillor O'Callaghan, Councillor Lund and myself. Those against, Councillor Howe, Councillor Harriman and Councillor Ferguson. I declare the motion carried. Item 14.2, use of and development of land for a wholesale plant nursery in Morwell.
Moved, Madam Mayor.
Yes, I was waiting. I said Morwell. Councillor Middlemiss, you're moving the motion. Councillor Harriman, you're seconding the motion. Any opposition? No. Councillor Middlemiss, do you wish to speak?
I would like to, Madam Mayor, but if this echo occurs again, I'll try and cut it as short as possible. This proposal is for a wholesale nursery on an industrial block of land in the heart of the industrial area of Morwell. There are two large industrial blocks in the road between this block of land and the nearest residential area. The main area of contention appears to be as to whether or not wholesale plant irrigation is a nursery or an agricultural pursuit. My reading of the application could be quite clearly regarded as an industrial proposal. All the objectors' concerns have been adequately addressed by the officers in this proposal. I think it is fairly straightforward. It's in an industrial area, provides jobs for our community. And I actually called this one in because there was some community angst that the application wouldn't be considered in all its detail. That is happening now. All the councillors are here on the public record. So I'm voting and recommending in favour of this application. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Minimus. Councillor Harriman, do you wish to speak?
Yes, Madam Mayor, just fully endorse everything Councillor Middlemiss has said. Basically, it's land that is used for industrial purposes within the Latrobe planning scheme. This fits that criteria. It fits in with Live Work Latrobe. It's where it needs to go. It's where it's meant to go. Therefore, it should be able to go there. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Exactly.
Thank you, Councillor Harriman. Do I have a speaker for the motion? Against the motion? Do I have anybody else wish to speak? Councillor Middlemiss, do you wish to close?
No, thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Since we've had speakers, I'll put the motion to the vote. All those in favour? Councillor Howe, Councillor Law, Councillor Middlemiss, Councillor O'Callaghan, Councillor Harriman, Councillor Lund, Councillor Ferguson and myself. I declare the motion carried unanimously. Item 14.3, considerations of submissions for Amendment C 124 for the proposed upgrade and expansion of Gippsland Water's Maui treatment plants. Do I have a mover for the motion? Councillor Law. Do I have a seconder for the motion? Councillor Harriman. Any opposition? No. Councillor Law, do you wish to speak to the motion, please?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I think this is just in a situation where we have to upgrade our services, and this is no doubt one of those services that just has to be upgraded, and I think it'll probably help a lot of Ball residents as well through Trafalgar and what have you, but it has to be done. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Law, and we won't have any more boiling water. Councillor Harriman, do you wish to speak?
Just quickly, Madam Mayor, I think you've just hit the nail on the head. This will mean that Maui and Newborough don't have to put up with boiled water anymore, and it will also double the capacity of water for Maui Newborough. So moving forward, it's going to open up or make it a lot easier for Maui Newborough to expand and to take on more residents in Latrobe City. So fully support it. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Harriman. Do I have a speaker for the motion? Councillor Middlemiss.
Thanks, Madam Mayor. Look, you've heard from two speakers about the benefits of this project, but what I'd like to talk about is the quality of the report. If anybody has any doubts at all, this is the most comprehensive planning report I've ever seen about 2¼ hectares. It overwhelmingly puts the case for this. I think we have an option to support this one. Thank you.
You're right. Thank you, Councillor Middlemiss. Do I have a speaker against the motion? Do I have any other person wish to speak to the motion? No. Do you wish to close, Councillor Law? No. I'll put the motion to the vote. All those in favour? Councillor Howe, Councillor Law, Councillor Middlemiss, Councillor O'Callaghan, Councillor Harriman, Councillor Lund, Councillor Ferguson and myself. I declare the motion carried unanimously. Item 14.4, investment roadmap. Do I have a mover for the motion, please? Councillor Howe. Do I have a seconder for the motion, please? Councillor Law. Do I have any opposition? Councillor Howe, do you wish to speak to the motion, please?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Earlier this year, Council saw the importance of developing an investment roadmap, and then we appointed PricewaterhouseCoopers to help us in the development of it. We thought that at the start of the year was important, but after the last 9 months it's taken on a greater sense of urgency as we all try and rebound from the COVID-19. Through this we had considerable consultation with external key stakeholders, including ADV, LVA, Fed Uni, as well as business roundtable discussions with individuals across a broad section of the business community. What we found was 4 key focus areas were developed. This was after looking at what strengths we had and what future opportunities we might find. And they were industrial-led strength, skills and training, advanced manufacturing, regional and rural health innovation hub, and the circular economy. At our August council meeting, we put it out, we endorsed it to be released to the public for a 6-week consultation. As a result of that, we received 16 submissions, most of which were either incorporated into the roadmap or noted as opportunities to be reviewed over time. What this is now is the next step as we adopt the draft investment roadmap.
Thank you, Councillor Howe. Councillor Lord, do you wish to speak?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yeah, just to follow on from Councillor Howe, this is a document that is basically showing to our investors that we actually have a vision for being going forward, and it's purely a document that actually outlines where we're actually going from a community point of view in all the skills-based transitions of work and that, and it's all about trying to create work. So I like to thank Pricewaterhouse for their work that they've done, and also our council officers for creating something that we need as a bit of a visionary document to help us transgress the next few years. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Lord. Do I have a person wish to speak for the motion? Councillor Middlemiss.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Oh, blow this echo. Can I say, whilst I totally support us having a roadmap, an idea of where we're going, because job creation should be our number one aim in this oncoming council. I do support the fact that this draft document has been altered slightly to point out that these plans are dynamic and are subject to change. I'm sure in the coming year we will review that document and we may make change. I hate to quote Malcolm Turnbull, but it is essential that we remain nimble and we are able to adapt this document to where we need to be as circumstances change. So I'm quite supportive of it, but I must emphasise again that it is dynamic and will change, and our community needs to understand that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Middlemiss. Did it hurt quoting?
There was some level of pain.
No worries. Thank you. Do I have a speaker for the motion? Against the motion? Any other person wish to speak? Councillor Harriman.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. While I'm going to support this, I'd just like to point out to councillors, item 4, focus area 4, circular economy. We had the chance to start that here, and the majority of councillors voted against it. I think we need to really consider what we're putting up and what we're agreeing to when it comes to the vote in future. When industry goes to come here and we say we're supporting these industries and these are the industries we want, that we actually support them when they come into the chamber. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Harriman. Do I have a speaker for the motion? Against the motion? Anybody else wish to speak? Do you wish to close, Councillor Howe? Thank you. We've had speakers, so I'll put the motion to the vote. All those in favour? Councillor Howe, Councillor Law, Councillor Middlemiss, Councillor O'Callaghan, Councillor Harriman, Councillor Lunn, Councillor Ferguson and myself. I declare the motion carried unanimously. Item 14.5, Australia Day Committee member nominations. Councillor...
I had an interest in this, Madam Mayor, so I'll leave the chamber.
No worries. Councillor Howe is is leaving the chamber. Councillor Howe is moving. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Middlemiss.
No.
Oh, you're
I'm
out.
declaring a conflict.
Yes, sorry.
Just the procedure on how we may manage this, Madam Mayor. I have used my phone to hotspot. That's the only way I'm getting into this meeting. So whilst I will now click out of the meeting, you can't ring me on the phone to get me to come back in. So I will go away, and with another phone, I'll ring the governance officer. So I'll leave the meeting now.
If you wait just a second, I'll ask if anybody wishes to speak to it. Is anybody looking to speak to the motion or not?
Through you, Madam Mayor.
Yeah.
I was just going to check with the governance team. Do we have the possibility of just putting Councillor Middlemiss in the waiting room, and then we can readmit him? So you actually...
Yep.
He's in the
All
waiting
right.
He's not actually participating in the meeting.
He's out. No worries.
Getting back readily.
Yep. Moving.
It's procedural. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
No worries. Sorry. Councillor Howe, you moved it and you're seconding it?
If you need, thanks, Madam Mayor.
Yep. No worries. Any opposition? Anybody wish to speak to the motion? Procedural, sorry. Okay, no speakers. No. As it's procedural, we'll put the motion straight to the vote. Those in favour? Councillor Howe, Councillor Law, Councillor O'Callaghan, Councillor Lunn, Councillor Ferguson and myself. I declare the motion carried unanimously. Can we get the others back in the room, please? You beauty. All right, we're all back in the room. Item 15.1, Moe Netball. I note you, Councillor Howe. Your alternate, no worries. And the alternate is up on the screen in a second. But for the councillors, we have a copy of the alts that was supplied to you while we're waiting for it to go up on the screen. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Law, seconding. Do I have any opposition? Nope. Councillor Howe.
Thank you. With my alternate motion, it's not actually changing the intent at all of the proposed resolution. There were 4 interested parties in the netball pavilion and facilities. One dropped out, one wasn't suitable. So it was down to the Latrobe Valley Beekeepers Association and the Gippsland Social Motorcycle Club, both very good community-minded groups. So what I'm really saying is, it could have gone either way. The report recommends Latrobe Valley Beekeepers Association, but what I'm saying is, let's put the offer to help find a home for the motorcycle club and the TCB Living to Thrive up into part of the motion to show them that we do take them serious as community groups, and we appreciate the work that they do. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Howe. Councillor Law, do you wish to speak to the motion? Okay. Do I have a speaker for the motion? Councillor O'Callaghan.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Very happy to support this and appreciate the alternate motion, because what it does do is acknowledge that the quality of the submissions that we received, expressions of interest in relation to this, were indeed thoroughly considered and appropriate, and they are all worthy contributors to our local community and could have ably used the facility. There were some things about some of the applications, though, that lend themselves to other more appropriate locations, and I'm glad to see through Councillor Howe's alt that there'll be that opportunity to explore that more thoroughly and find places that are more suitable in terms of their accommodation needs. In relation to the Latrobe Valley Beekeepers proposal, many of our community will be familiar with the work that they undertake. It is a social beekeeping club. They have 130 members and they currently meet at our library in Moe, which is a little inconvenient for those other users of the facility when they turn up with all their bees and park them on the roof. But this will allow them to actually go to a facility where they can set up all of their activities and leave them set up. And it also creates a great outdoor space where they can provide training and support and activities, not only for the broader community, but for their membership group. The other thing that I think isn't necessarily highlighted in relation to the work that is undertaken by the Beekeepers Association is they do assist a number of community members when they get stuck with big swarms of bees in their properties. And I think even in the council chamber, we've had to crack some bees out of the walls sometime last year. They are more than engaged with the community around those sorts of things. But the other activities that they undertake more recently is training and support for impacted communities, particularly around bushfire, where they've lost gardens and often bees in their natural environment, and have been undertaking a great level of work and social support for communities, not only locally but further afield, to assist them. So I don't think there is any doubt around the veracity of the consideration of this matter and the work that could potentially be done by any one of these organisations. But I certainly think that the level of community activity, the appropriateness of the venue, given that it is no longer suitable for netball and they've moved on to much greener pastures, that this is one of those places that could be used quite well by the beekeepers, and I wish them well in relation to this. Thank the other groups who have expressed an interest, and I'm very glad through Councillor Howe's alt that they will have the opportunity to explore in more detail appropriate accommodation for the activities that they undertake in our local community. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor O'Callaghan. Do I have a speaker against? Do I have a speaker for? Do I have any other person wish to speak? I'll just quickly speak to this. I agree wholeheartedly on the alternate motion, and hopefully with a, we might have found a site maybe already, so that would be great. But I also note that they have been very beneficial for more in the community. Okay, Councillor Howe, do you wish to close? We've had speakers, so I'll put the motion to the vote. All those in favour? Councillor Howe, Councillor Law, Councillor Minimus, Councillor O'Callaghan, Councillor Harriman, Councillor Lunn, Councillor Ferguson and myself. I declare the motion carried unanimously. Item 15.2, expressions of interest for membership and resignations community asset committees. Do I have a mover for the motion? Councillor Harriman, are you moving?
Madam.
Do I have a seconder to the motion? Councillor Howe? Do I have any opposition? Councillor Harriman, do you wish to speak to the motion?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'd just like to take this opportunity to acknowledge and thank the two resigning members, Jane Osborne at the Community Representative of the Morwell Centenary Rose Garden, and David Langmore as a Community Representative on the Trolgan Railway Reserve Conservation Reserve Community Asset Committee, better known as the RES. I've been fortunate enough to work with David for the last 10 to 11 years on the RES committee. He has provided invaluable support, advice. He's been there and worked exceedingly hard for the community. And from what I've heard, Jane Osborne has been a long time strong supporter of the Morwell Centenary Rose Garden as well. So I'd just like to acknowledge the service they've provided to their community and welcome aboard our new appointees and wish them all the best in their future endeavours on the committee and look forward to working with them going forward. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Harriman. Councillor Howe, do you wish to speak?
No, thank you.
Do I have a speaker for the motion? Against the motion? Anybody else wish to speak? No. Councillor Harriman, do you wish to close?
No, thank you, Madam Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Since we've had speakers, I'll put the motion to the vote. All those in favour? Councillor Howe, Councillor Law, Councillor Minimus, Councillor O'Callaghan, Councillor Harriman, Councillor Lunn, Councillor Ferguson and myself. I declare the motion carried unanimously. Item 15.3, close off of the project reference groups that the projects have actually been finalised. Councillor O'Callaghan, are you moving?
Procedural with thanks to the group.
Procedural. Do I have a seconder for the motion? Councillor Lund. Because it's procedural, it will go straight to the vote. Do I have all those in favour? Councillor Howe, Councillor Law, Councillor Middlemiss, Councillor O'Callaghan, Councillor Harriman, Councillor Lund, Councillor Ferguson and myself. I declare the motion carried unanimously. Item 15.4, CEO delegation. Do I have a mover for the motion, please?
Happy to move, Madam Mayor.
Councillor Harriman, do I have a seconder for the motion, please? Councillor Lund? Do I have any opposition? No. Councillor Harriman, do you wish to speak to the motion?
Madam Mayor, just to advise the community, the reason why we're giving this delegated authority to the Chief Executive Officer is that the applications have to be in before council meet next, and it won't be costing council any money. This is available so that we can apply for the funds on behalf of cricket or social or for sporting clubs that have an interest in improving their facilities. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Harriman. Councillor Lund, do you wish to speak to the motion? Thank you. Do I have a speaker for the motion? Against the motion? Anybody else wish to speak? Councillor Harriman, do you wish to close?
No, thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Since we've had speakers for the motion, all those in favour? Councillor Howe, Councillor Law, Councillor Middlemiss, Councillor O'Callaghan, Councillor Harriman, Councillor Lund, Councillor Ferguson and myself, I declare the motion carried unanimously. Got a lot of those tonight. Item 17.1, quarterly budget report. Do I have a mover for the motion? Councillor Law? Do I have a seconder for the motion? Councillor O'Callaghan? Do I have any opposition? No. Councillor Law, do you wish to speak to the motion? Procedural. Well, not really. Good try. Councillor Harry.
Madam Mayor, just to highlight the work of our officers in relation to the reporting on the budget. These aren't the most exciting things that come through in terms of the reports, but they are the bread and butter of what we need to do. And there is an element of accountability in terms of the quarterly report back to council. It does show our overall operating parameters in terms of our adopted budget, but it also indicates any variances and carry forward that is included. Gives us a bit of an indication of forecast and surplus, and it also provides us with a bit of an idea of where we're sitting at the moment. We have had a significant level of expenditure across this budget. We also know that in future budgets there will be further burdens in relation to the new infrastructure and opportunities that have been created in Latrobe. So we're keeping a pretty close look on the budget itself. These reports are important to us, and I thank Greg Drum and his team for bringing all of this information together. They bring us the numbers, they present it in a way that is reasonably easy for those of us who are not necessarily as financially savvy as we could potentially be to understand, but it does help us to meet our requirements and obligations under the Local Government Act. And I think this is a good report, and there are no surprises within it, and it certainly is comprehensive in relation to the work we're undertaking, but particularly in relation to the activities around our capital works program at the moment. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor O'Callaghan. Councillor Law, do you wish to close?
I thank Councillor O'Callaghan for her finance report. It was duly noted that she has done an exceptional effort in auditing this report, and I agree that it should be passed.
Thank you, Councillor Law. Since we've had speakers, I'll put the motion to the vote. Councillor Howe, Councillor Law, Councillor Middlemiss, Councillor O'Callaghan, Councillor Harriman, Councillor Lunn, Councillor Ferguson and myself, I declare the motion carried unanimously. Item 17.2, fair go rate system, rate cap variation. Do I have a mover? Councillor Howe.
Move.
Do I have a seconder for the motion? Councillor Harriman.
Second.
Do I have any opposition? Do I have... Councillor Howe, do you wish to speak to the motion?
Madam Mayor, the fair go rate system was introduced 5 years ago, I think, by the state government. What it means is that they actually cap what we can put our rates up by, which I think is normally tied to CPI. Now, if we are under extreme financial pressure or we have exceptional circumstances, we can apply for an increase above that. We need to have that by the end of January, which means we need to make a decision tonight. The recommendation is that we are financially secure, and considering we did pass a zero rate rise this year, I think we find it extremely hard to run against the officer's recommendation and to apply for it. So happy to move this resolution.
Thank you, Councillor Howe. Councillor Harriman? Nope. Do I have a speaker for the motion? Against the motion? Anybody else wish to speak? Councillor Howe, do you wish to close?
No, thank you, Madam Mayor.
Okay, but since we've had a speaker, I'll have to put the motion to the vote. All those in favour? Councillor Howe, Councillor Law, Councillor Minimis, Councillor O'Callaghan, Councillor Harriman, Councillor Lunn, Councillor Ferguson and myself. I declare the motion carried unanimously. Item, yeah, you can say procedural on this one. Item 17.3, tabling of Assembly of Councillors records. Councillor O'Callaghan,
Moving, thank you, Madam Mayor.
seconding. Do I have a seconder? All right, sorry. Which one is seconding? Him. Councillor Howe is seconding. Do I have any opposition? Anybody wish to speak? Nope. No speakers, no opposition. I declare the motion carried unanimously. Okay. We're up to item 18, urgent business. Do we have any urgent business? Nope. Okay. Sorry, I'm just getting there. So, no urgent business. Item 19 is meeting closed to the public. Do I have a mover for that, please? Councillor Harriman. Do I have a second? Councillor Law. Any opposition to that? No. Anybody wish to speak to that? Nope. I declare the motion carried unanimously, and I thank all those who have been watching over the internet for your patronage, and I'd like to, on behalf of everybody, wish you all a very merry, happy, healthy and safe Christmas. Thank you.